You know, that's a lot of time to spend on food. Jack, you want coffee? I didn't have it. I think I didn't have it.
You did, yes, I didn't get it. Where do I see that?
Well, I get it from my office.
Yeah,
They email it, they email it and then they print it off.
I gotta get another one.
Another agenda?
I've got it here.
Oh, I can just follow along with,
Well, no, I don't want you to do that.
oh, it's fine. I'm good.
I know you're good, but.
It's okay.
But this, you say.
I'm sitting right by the chair.
No, I know, but you said.
Oh, then there's a whole packet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, you might need to get that
Yeah,
made.
that's what
I'm sure I'm gonna make two of them. Do that, May, when she comes in, she'll
Yeah.
probably have.
yeah. Oh, just teasing you.
I take it personal, probably.
It'll come, it'll come.
Yeah. You want coffee? Do you want black or what stuff?
There's a little white stuff, not sugar.
That's okay, I'll let you.
Milk or something, that'd be great.
Donuts for one in front of you. There you go.
Had passed that place for that. Hi.
How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good.
Good.
Good to see you.
Again?
Good morning, Jack. How are you?
Good. How are you?
How are you?
He's over there in the corner ignoring me.
She sees real good, but I think apparently sometimes it's challenging.
So Dee, I did look over this. I do want to talk to you.
Do you have a complete one? What do you do?
Yeah.
Also the left hand published.
Oh, okay, no, I don't know that rule, but I did look over this. I do want to.
Morning.
Yeah.
Morning.
You know what I mean, where the whole house looks the same?
Yeah. Yeah.
You all? Mr. Norton?
Good morning. How you doing? Good, how are you? Good.
Hey, Matt. How's your dad?
He's doing well.
Good.
He's almost totally retired, so.
I just want to thank you for that confidence today. Yeah, I appreciate that. As far as how much I retained out of that. Yeah, I know.
Very morning, too. Yeah, I think so, yeah. Morning, next week. Well, there's a chance we might go wait one, so.
Yeah, I was concerned about that.
So no wine yet, huh?
No, no, I can actually get out of early, get the early vote.
Yeah.
Last night I did.
Yeah, thanks. I bet when they're new, they'll go back.
Staff was kind of.
Excuse me, Gil. How you doing?
Good, how are you doing today?
Good. Is it possible, I guess you're not using a tripod or anything, but this isn't to be used as a table. If you keep it like that, that's fine, but don't lean on it or anything.
He's smart. How much that cost us?
Bear with us for just a moment here. I gotta wait for Meg to come back in and for.
She's in a meeting.
Pardon?
She's been in a meeting.
She'll be here.
Yeah, but she's been in a meeting, is what I'm saying.
Meg coming in here shortly. She's the
Yeah,
scribe.
she's done with what she's doing.
I think she's making maybe a copy.
Well, good morning. So we will start our regular transit board meeting on May 22nd. Let the record show that the board members are all here. Mr. Sundberg is going to be absent, and his stand-in is council member Mr. Bruce Allen. Welcome.
Thank you, Bruce.
And I hope whatever Jim is doing, he's having fun doing.
He's home and doing well.
Okay. We'll start this meeting out with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I've got Jackie Henderson leading the Pledge of Allegiance, and she will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I failed to mention when I said let the record show that all the board members are here, Mr. Norton is also here representing the employees union. And welcome again, Mr. Norton.
Thank you.
We have, do we have introduction of any guests? don't see any special guests here for this. Ken, do we have anything more? Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda. And before we approve this agenda, I want to add to this agenda an executive session at the end of this meeting to discuss employment issues. So I will entertain a motion to add the executive session to the agenda. That's been moved by Ms. Johnson. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Henderson. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I'm curious, last month I was excluded from the executive session regarding continuation of employment. Why?
Because in that situation, we were talking about, well, let me just put it this way, at the advice of counsel, I think is the proper way to answer that question.
Actually, it was your discretion, so.
Okay.
We were discussing some contract-related issues, and when issues relate to contracts, then there was some discussion about the fact that those would be the conversations that we would include union representation in.
Okay. Was the contract you're talking about regarding the represented employees?
No.
Or was it the CEO?
The contract was about a public employee, and there's discussion about salaries, wages, and other types of compensation, and those types of conversations related to compensation are ones that this board, I'm sorry to speak for you,
No, that's fine.
this board has decided are not executive sessions that will be involving union representation.
That's not the intent of the language that's in the RCW. What was discussed is a matter of public record, okay? So I don't understand this misconception about excluding labor from issues that are not contract negotiations relating to represented employees. I've been through this for a couple of years, and I don't want to go through it again. This excluding labor from issues other than contract labor negotiations and personnel issues is not the way the law reads.
Well, I appreciate your tone. I would say that I've never seen a board of directors for any agency, public or private, that includes labor on it, quite frankly.
What have you got against labor?
I don't-
Let me take control of this issue right now. We're going to make it real clear. It's the discretion, by the law, it's discretion of the chair of the board to include or exclude. This situation was not set up for the disadvantage of our employees or to exclude you for any particular reason. It was my discretion to do that, and I chose that to do that, and you will not be included in the executive session today either. That should be clear. Let's move this meeting along. Thank you. So, we have a motion on the table to have the executive session at the end of this meeting. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none. There will be an executive session added to this agenda. Now I'll introduce it. Request a motion to approve the May 22nd agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion by Mr. Hanold and second by Ms. Johnson. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none. Those in favor of approving the agenda say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It has been approved unanimously. We go on to item number 2. There's approval of a corrected summary of the minutes for April the 13th, a special meeting and the board workshop. Any discussion regarding that about the corrections? And if there aren't any discussions about that, entertain a motion to approve the corrected summary of the minutes of April 13th. Excuse me?
I just said so moved.
Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Henderson and a second from Mr. Handel. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor to approve the corrected summary of the minutes of April 13th, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Hearing none, it's approved unanimously. Next item is approval of minutes of April 24th, regular business meeting.
I move we approve the minutes of April 24th.
We have a motion from Mr. Hanold for the April 24th regular meeting, and a second from Ms. Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes unanimously. So we have an approved minutes on that. And then, under the approval of the May 2015 master voucher list, any discussion on that before we entertain a motion? He's going to do a presentation on this, but that comes up in the financial report. I don't have any comments regarding the master voucher list. I think it's self-explanatory what we have. The cash balance on this item is up about slightly under 200,000, but that thing fluctuates based on our revenue stream and the expenses from month to month.
I move approval of the vouchers as presented.
Ms. Johnson made a motion to approve the May 2015 voucher list, second by Ms. Henderson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Next item on here is the public input. These are public comments. You may comment on anything within the jurisdiction of the Transit Board. This is a time set aside for members of the public to speak to the board about subjects of concern or interest, and that within our jurisdiction that are not already set aside for the public hearing. If your comments are related to an agenda item, please wait for the agenda item to come forward. We'll give you an opportunity to speak at that time. Please direct your questions to the board and not to any employees. Civility is always encouraged. You have 3 minutes to make your statement, and if somebody else has said something that you agree with, I would appreciate it if you say you agree with them rather than to take the time to repeat what they said. So at that time, I will open this up for public comment. Ms. Gale.
Gail Zalco-Kirk. Just a couple questions. Basically, are we still expecting ICOM's PowerPoint presentation at some time? Because I don't see communications update on here. I was wondering if we are, because that's also with the radios, if there is any foreseen subject being brought up to continue on a conversation about ethics and hostile work environment. And I was also, for the third thing, it's been in the paper about the, it said in the story about the Langley funicular that they were talking about approved island transit, maybe taking up a transportation down there in Langley, and I was just wondering if we could expand on that when we're having other transportation issues. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. We'll come back to possible comments from the board or staff on your questions after we've taken other public comments.
Thank you
for your. Any other public comment? Going once, going twice, public comment period is closed. So anybody on the board, and Ken, any of your staff would like to take a stab at the Gail's questions there for update?
Yes, the ICOM PowerPoint presentation has been rescheduled for the June workshop meeting. Regarding the Langley vehicular,
Funicular, I think.
Regarding Island Transit's mentioned in the newspaper on that project, I have been approached by the mayor as well as a member of the Port Commission regarding the concept and concept only of shuttle services that would connect to the funicular and how they can improve the transportation flow within the city of Langley, but certainly no commitments or no plans, or it's all been conceptual kind of brainstorming.
a brainstorming session, there was only one meeting, regarding how they could improve public transportation service in the Langley area, particularly on weekends. And of course, I made it clear that we're not open on weekends and that would be, to us, a major cost, which we are not covering or prepared to cover. But right now, it's a conceptual item, and there are no commitments or promises or anything else that have been made to Langley. That would have to be a decision of the board and approved by the board. But if anything did come about, certainly the item would come before the board. But right now, it's all concept in the city of, in the town of Langley.
Okay, thank you. She also had a, excuse me.
So is the funicular. That's not a done deal either.
Right, right.
We're a long way from settling that issue.
That's a good point.
There was also a comment about possible hostile work environment. I don't know any details about that whatsoever. Do you have any comment?
I have no details, no comment. I've not been approached about any issues. I don't know if our legal counsel has been or not.
Okay.
But,
Then we'll move this along to the executive director's report.
thank you, sir. We have an expanded financial report coming from Paul, and I think it will give the board and the public a much clearer understanding of where we are financially, and let Paul take it away. And I think this is going to be an example of the presentations we'll have in coming months regarding the financial status of Highland Transit.
Okay. All right, we'll get started.
Should I turn this light off?
If you'd like.
Does that help?
So last month there was some call to do a little more expanded presentation on a screen here, so I'm going to move forward and just talk. And there was also some requests to see where we are, not just this month, but in the bigger picture over a number of years. So I'm going to try and meet those requests and just talk a little bit about the topics I always do: financial condition, meaning our cash position, and revenues and expenses, ridership, and operations. So, first thing I'd like to talk about is our cash position. Right now, our cash is at about $1.2 million. And as you can see by this chart, this is showing month by month, end of month cash from January of 2013. And as you can see, we had a lot of cash in the bank at the beginning of that chart, and we're in an improving situation as we move in time. The low point, of course, was April of 2014.
Cash position that was.
Yeah, the cash position at the end of April, after expenses were paid, was about $20,000. So it was,
How much of that is obligated?
that's something we talked about in some meetings I had with various commissioners. How much of that 1.2 million is obligated or committed, you might say. And what we're having to do during this budget cycle is accumulate some cash, and then we have like a big WISTIP payment, which is an insurance payment in October of about $300,000. So that's a payment that we should have made in January, but we delayed it. So you could say that that's obligated in a real sense. Of course, we're also accumulating money for capital expenditures. We have a couple on the list: radios, buses, and a possible route match grant that wasn't originally budgeted, but it's a possibility of maybe about $40,000 too. So we'll see that in a later slide too. It's kind of fleshed out a little bit. Are there any other questions about this one? This slide, okay. This is a slide that shows our cash balance over annual cash balance changes, and this is at the end of each year. starting in '09, and showing the low point of being 2013, and then where we are in 2015. So again, it's a recovering liquidity situation. We're trying to rebuild our cash balance.
I have a comment about this, or actually a question. When I look at this pattern, starting in 2009, those are the, quite frankly, that very positive cash balance is a reflection of the dependency that this program has had on grants. Is that correct?
I think it's showing that we were holding cash during a large grant period, which was the SGR, the facility.
Including the facility, yes.
And that was, I think, one of the reasons that we ran into some financial difficulty was that we were looking maybe, and I can't really speak for what people were thinking at the time, but perhaps thinking if we have a large cash balance, there are no problems, no further analysis is necessary, no deeper analysis is necessary. So when some of those SGR bills came due in perhaps 2013, maybe very large payments, it revealed other problems that maybe were overlooked while focus was being put onto the facility.
It looked good on the surface from the balance in the bank account, but it did not reflect the obligations that went along with that.
Yeah,
That's what I read into
probably,
this.
and that's just a theory. You know, I don't know what other people were thinking. Perhaps it was on that.
The theory gets flushed out when you get down toward 2013, 14, and 15.
And your graph here, so right now we're showing that at this current point in time that we're ahead of 2014, but in all reality we are with the $300,000 payment due to WISTEC, we're on par with 2014 right now.
Yeah, I think for me the best way to summarize is we're on track. We're accumulating cash, but I think what was brought up and wisely brought up is that we don't have 1.2 million clear and free. We still have to make a payment.
Thank you.
But we're preparing for that. So this looks at inflows and outflows of cash on a monthly basis. And the title here is Building Cash Reserves. We're averaging about, in 2015, about 68,709 per month surplus. And that's how we're doing it. Month by month, we're just slowly building that cash reserve. We've had a little bit of luck. Fuel prices are down, so that's helping us. But we've also had we've had to consider stashing away $132,000 for potential audit repayment, so SGR repayment amount. So there are a lot of factors here, but on average, about $68,000 surplus a month in the first 4 months. This slide talks about annual profitability. For 2015 so far, and like I said, we're accumulating cash. We're ahead of schedule, you might say, by $378,255.87. That you'll find on your report, revenues and expenses. But as we were already talking about, we're gathering monies for future payments. So it needs to be qualified in that way. What I find is more interesting on this chart is looking from 2011, we're looking at the profitability of the organization, and for those 3 years, we were actually running in a deficit. Whereas in 14 and 15, you can see that we're not doing it anymore.
Did the 2013-2014 turnaround include the loan that was, like the bridge loan that Transit took out, or no?
The answer is no. It doesn't include that because the first 4 sets of columns are audited. Financial statements, or actually the first 3 are audited. The 4th is what's going to be audited. And the last set is really just our first 4 months, which would include inflows and outflows, but the first 4 are audited where bond revenue is not considered revenue. So that's been pulled out of the equation. I didn't do that in the last column, so for the last grouping. But you know, it's best information. I was talking a little bit about fuel, and this is a chart showing from January 13 what our monthly fuel costs have been. And you can see right now we're in a lull period. Part of that is due to price, but part is due to reduced service. So this is just actual fuel expenses that we've been incurring. Our savings on fuel per month right now has been, you know, between like $30,000 and $45,000 a month. So that's a significant part of our savings. It's been a real boost to us. Something that I think is really important to talk about in this report is ridership. And you can see on that top table, those are the details for the various areas, and part of that area has been grayed out. And those are last year's numbers, and the bars below those are last year's figures. The first 4 columns are the first 4 months of this year, and just to show comparable information. And you can see how our ridership is down. And the title of the graph has been Reduced Service Level Reduces Costs, but it affects ridership too. So we can see the impact of things that we're dealing with financially. And here's the last graph that I'm going to present today. And it's a graph showing a cost per ride. And we talk about the various costs to the agency of our different programs. And the conclusion I came to here is, yeah, there are some fluctuations month to month, and there really are 2 elements guiding these costs per ride. You got the costs that go up and down a little bit, and the number of riders change month to month. So naturally, we're going to see some variation in the cost per ride. But we can see, for example, the green line, that's our para program, is a lot more expensive, let's say, than our van pool program. You know, our para, we're between $20 and $25 per ride, whereas van pool's in that $2 range and slightly under that per ride. Whereas our fixed and our Camino are between $10 and $15 per ride. As we can see here, Camino is pretty competitive, if not a little lower in price right now. So that's an interesting thing that has popped out and caught my attention. So that's what I have to present in terms of our finances for the month of April. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
On your